We know that in the world of Genshin Impact, memories are fickle, and can be manipulated via Irminsul. In fact, Irminsul is even capable of entirely erasing a certain person, place, or thing from living memory, thus rendering it non-existent. However, in the Sumeru Archon quest, we learn that metaphors are a way to bypass Irminsul's memory manipulation. Enter the X.8 patches. You know, the summer patches where we get a limited map and some Hexenzirkel lore. In fact, the newest limited map, Simulanka, probably holds some metaphors relating to Natlan as well as Celestia's creation of Teyvat. First off, let's do a bit of meta-analysis. We see in the preview teaser that we are getting a Dendro, Hydro, and Geo character in 5.0. The areas we see in the Natlan map also correlates to these elements. There's an area that looks very lush and green, an area that looks to be abundant with water, and a mountainous region as well. And what do you know? In the Simulanka map, we see that there is a pond lake area in the Forest of Blessings with many origami frogs, and also an area with many tall paper trees. I believe that the pond area correlates to the spring source, a location of Natlan we learned about in the Unfinished Reverie artifact set. The area with the paper trees is probably foreshadowing us getting the hanging trees in version 5.0, also mentioned in the Unfinished Reverie. Furthermore, there is also an area known as the Broken Sea in Simulanka, where you can find the Titanium mines. This probably correlates to either the canyons from the Unfinished Reverie, or the mines, which was not directly confirmed in that artifact set, but heavily teased. Finally, Constellation Metropole of the Simulanka is probably a parallel of this arena with blue and purple banners, which we see in the teaser trailer. All of these similarities between what we know about Natlan and the Simulanka makes me believe that what happened during the Simulanka quests directly foreshadow the story of Genshin going forward. Continuing with Natlan and the Simulanka, let's talk about cubes. Yes, cubes. I have been thinking about cubes ever since we got a look at that Natlan map. And with the release of Simulanka, my brain is going crazy once again. Is it just me, or are there an abundance of cubes in the Simulanka? The geography is very cubic in some areas. There are giant cubes in the sky and in the distance. There are cubic lights above Constellation Metropole. The citizens are cubic toys. The entirety of the Broken Sea is made up of cubic shapes. The water particles are cubic, and even the origami creatures are quite angular in design. What does that remind you of? Because to me, when I think of cubes, I think of Minecraft. I mean Celestia. Celestia. Specifically, the sustainer of heavenly principles. The fact that there are so many cubes in the Simulanka is interesting because it was created via a joint effort between Alice, Barbeloth, and Anders' daughter. And as far as we know, those three are part of the Hexenzirkel, unaffiliated with Celestia in any way. Or are they? See, the more I think about it, the more I'm convinced that the Simulanka was created using the same energy source that Celestia uses. I'm not sure I'm fully convinced that the Hexenzirkel members are in cahoots with Celestia, but the whole cubic imagery certainly reminds me of Celestia. We know that Alice narrates Wanderer's collected miscellany and that she is a higher being of a sort, not being able to be manipulated via Irminsul. These witches have extraordinary powers and were even able to kiki with Barbados back in the day. I'm even starting to wonder if the Hexenzirkel members have demon names. I'll be honest, the chances of that being the case are pretty slim, but considering that many of the Hexenzirkel members have extraordinary abilities and that, at least Alice, Barbeloth, and Anders' daughter are considered gods in the Simulanka, I am wondering if these witches have any demon names we are unaware of. But that's just baseless speculation. Okay, I know this video is a bit of a jumble, but let's circle back and talk about Natlan once again and how it relates to the whole cube situation we have going on. You see, much like in the Simulanka, there are quite a few instances of cubic imagery in Natlan, or so we can see from some of the trailers. If we examine some scenes from the preview teaser, there seems to be these angular sheets of rock in the landscape, as well as a very angular and jutted landscape in general. When Kachina is riding through different Natlan environments, we can see her riding through what appears to be some sort of mountain overhang with cubic pillars holding up the ceiling. We can see more clearly in the Saurian teaser that the mountainous regions of Natlan are especially cubic. Also, Knich's entire design is based on cubes and pixels. There are a strange amount of cubes surrounding Natlan, and I got to thinking about why that might be the case, drawing upon what little information about Natlan we already know. Back in 4.6, there was this one limited time quest called the Specially Shaped Saurian Search. Nice alliteration there. This quest had us meet an NPC named Ranjit, who isn't a local of Natlan but recently visited there. He told us a lot about modern Natlan culture, and this contrasts with some of the lore we got from the Talking Stick and the Unfinished Reverie. He tells us that the reason we haven't met a single Natlan NPC so far is because the people of Natlan, quote, have a lot of reservations about leaving their land, end quote. Ranjit doesn't tell us more because he is not the most familiar with Natlantian rules and taboos, but I can interpret what he said in two ways. I see a world in which the taboo that Ranjit mentions could be referring to a cultural custom. However, it's strange to me that we haven't met a single Natlan NPC thus far. If it were only a cultural custom of Natlan, there would be people who disagree with this custom or who don't really care about the custom if that were the case. The number of Natlan NPCs we would have met already if there was only a cultural taboo would be very little, but I have a hard time believing it would be zero. Which it is, by the way. That's why I think this rule in Natlan about not leaving the nation is much more primal, celestial, if you will. My theory here is that Natlan will be very heavily tied to Celestia. With all of the cubic imagery surrounding Natlan, as well as the taboo that Ranjit mentioned, I am starting to suspect that Natlan is some sort of prison. I don't know why this curse exists in Natlan, but it seems to me that it is indeed a curse, and one which was foreshadowed a while back with the book Harry. If you folks are not familiar with Harry, I suggest you watch my Arlecchino video where I talk about Harry quite a bit. Right now, however, I would like to avoid recapping the book and talk a bit about Angelica, the supposed noble princess from Liyue, who more accurately might be described as a more celestial being. Judging from her words, quote, I am freedom, that which has broken free of fate. This is what Heleabrand sought in agony, but that which is now yours for the taking, end quote. Angelica also tells Harry a little bit about the curse of the wilderness. When Heleabrand leaves Conria's borders, he turns into a beast, and Angelica implies that those who forsake their gods and come to Conria cannot leave Conria, or else they will be afflicted with the curse. Harry and Angelica, however, are free to come and go as they please, as they did not betray their respective gods. All of this, the cubic imagery of Natlan, the cultural taboo, as well as the foreshadowing in Harry, leads me to believe that Natlan's story will be intertwined with Celestia. I think Natlan's taboo is very similar to what we saw in Harry. Perhaps the Natlantian people betrayed their gods, potentially betraying Celestia at one point in ancient history, and so they are forever cursed to live within the confines of Natlan, or else turn into beasts. Moreover, if you look at some of what happens in the Simulanka quest, you might be able to get a sense of what will happen in the Natlan Archon quests. When we are tasked to use the celestial gear to take away Barbalot's power, there are some residents of Constellation Metropole who are scared to have the goddess's power taken away, even though it has begun harming them. This is because the citizens view the goddess's magic as protection, and they would feel lost without it. This might foreshadow what would happen in the future if we, as the Traveler, ever get the opportunity to rewrite fate. Oh yeah, wait, that sort of power is already in the hands of the Abyss Order, isn't it? Well, perhaps some people in Teyvat will be happy that they will be unbound by fate, while others will be hesitant, viewing fate and celestial rule as comforting. Oh, and about what happens at the end of the Simulanka quest, well, the people of the Simulanka are free to traverse through the real world, Mini Durin included. I think that's pretty neat foreshadowing that we will break the curse of Natlan and allow the people of Natlan to roam across the whole of Teyvat after the Archon quest. I mean, it's kinda obvious, right? All in all, man, are these summer quests good at teasing what's to come in the next region. Let's move on from Natlan and talk about the dragon in the room. In the Simulanka quest, we find out about an evil dragon that has been terrorizing the citizens of the Simulanka. However, later in the quest, via the help of Wanderer, or Hat Guy, we learn that the dragon was just misunderstood and wished to make friends with people. Oh, and we learn that this dragon's name is Durin. Yes, that same Durin who terrorized Mondstadt during the Cataclysm. It's strange because in the real world as well, Durin was apparently unaware of the fact that his actions were hurting people, and he had a gentle heart. Even as Dvalin landed a killing blow to Durin, he viewed the event as him and Dvalin dancing in the sky. Back in the Simulanka, Wanderer, alongside the Traveler, Nilou, Navia, and Kirara, blessed the Simulanka's Durin and turned him into Mini Durin, a small flying dragon that can talk. We learned that Mini Durin misses his mother, Anders' daughter, instead of his mother in the real world, Rhine-daughter, and that Mini Durin can actually traverse the world outside the Simulanka and into Vat. What's crazier is the fact that Albedo and Wanderer talk about a prophecy surrounding the fact that Durin in the real world will come back from the dead. To me, this clearly foreshadows a future Mondstadt quest set in Dragonspine, which I did not see coming. It's foreshadowed that Mini Durin will have a part to play if real-world Durin gets resurrected. The future Mondstadt story is not the only thing that the Simulanka quests reveal, nor is Durin the only dragon that was mentioned during the quests. In one of the side quests with Kirara, there are 3 tribes in the Simulanka, all of whom claim that their tribe defeated an ancient dragon which terrorized the world of Simulanka. One of these tribes claimed to have killed a dragon with strength, another tribe claimed they outsmarted the dragon using their wits, and another tribe claimed to have grown large and talked to the dragon with empathy, calming it down. At the end of the quest, it's revealed that all 3 of these stories are actually 3 drafts of a story that Alice wrote when creating this world, but she couldn't decide which one she liked the best. Eventually, her cat trampled all over her notes and the 3 worlds just folded into one. The quest ends when Anders' daughter's voice tells the traveler that the worlds inside fairy tales are as real as the real world, as they are just a condensed form of the real world. Quite topical, as I think the reminder of the importance of metaphors at the end of the quest highlights how the whole debate with the 3 stories surrounding the ancient dragon's defeat might foreshadow a future story. Natlan is the nation of dragons, after all, and I suspect because there are 6 tribes in Natlan, we're gonna get a quest in the future where 3 of those tribes argue over who killed the ancient dragon that once terrorized Natlan, only to find that parts of all of their stories are true. In fact, this supposed quest I'm hypothesizing might happen as early as 5.0. We know that we are getting 3 tribes in 5.0, and perhaps they will be linked together in this supposed quest mirroring the Simulanka quest. Perhaps the Dendro tribe is the tribe that defeated the dragon using their wits in the Simulanka, because Dendro is the element of wisdom. The other 2 parallels are a bit more muddy, but if I had to guess, I would say the Geo tribe represents strength, and that the Hydro tribe represents empathy. That just makes sense in my head. On that note, I think I covered everything I wanted to say about the Simulanka quests. The main takeaways here are the fact that the Simulanka foreshadows both future Natlan stories as well as Natlan's geography. Moreover, the Simulanka tells us about the powers of the witches of the Hexenzirkel and potentially ties them with Celestia. It all goes back to that damn island in the sky, doesn't it?